Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you had tremendous weekends. I had an awesome time. I was at the FIFA World Cup announcement in Washington, D.C. The U.S. men's soccer team got a draw that even the U.S. men's soccer team cannot screw up. I don't think. We'll discuss that a little bit. Obviously, tons of football news. I was at the Big Ten title game between Indiana and Ohio State. First time that I had been at the Big Ten title game ever, and I had an awesome time there. So we've got a lot to discuss with all of you. Let's dive right in off the top. The controversy of the day, the debate of the day. The College Football Playoff Committee got it 100% right. I may be the only person who says that in all of sports media, but they did exactly what I believe was the right decision to make. We talked about for a couple weeks now that it was likely that the committee's final decision was going to come down to Notre Dame versus Miami. And that if the committee viewed 10-2 Notre Dame and 10-2 Miami as virtual similarities in their overall resume, that head-to-head had to dictate the outcome and that Miami had to get in over Notre Dame. I felt like at times I was on an island in making this argument, but it felt self-evident, and I told you all where it was headed. Heck, last week, Mario Cristobal came on and made the argument for all of you. Let me tell you why the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. Alabama was locked in as soon as the College Football Playoff Committee elevated Alabama to 9 overall. You could not take Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M, all of whom did not make the college football playoff, and knock Alabama, who did not make the SEC title game, and knock Alabama out for playing in the SEC title game. Because if instead of making the SEC title game and actually finishing first overall in the SEC with the tiebreak, Alabama would have been far better off to be Oklahoma or Texas A&M or Ole Miss and not go to the SEC title game at all. So I told you, and I believed it to be true, that barring an injury to Ty Simpson that was significant in nature, like what happened to Carson Beck, that Alabama was in the playoff. I was right, okay? Also, I told you that last week, go back and watch the show, I said it was significant that Alabama went to 9 and Notre Dame was 10 and BYU was 11 and Miami was 12. Because I told all of you that if BYU lost to Texas Tech, they would drop below Miami and we would have Notre Dame and Miami side by side. And once Notre Dame and Miami ended up side by side, head-to-head was going to dictate and the committee was going to take Miami over Notre Dame. A lot of people argued against me. They told me that I was crazy. They said I had no idea what I was talking about, but I was right. And if you listen to this show, you were not surprised at all with the decisions the College Football Playoff Committee made. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of elements here that I think are worthy of discussion and analysis even. For instance, weekly rankings by the College Football Playoff Committee are largely a television product that does not help when it comes to actually telling you who is going to get into the college football playoff. If you gave me a magic wand, all we would do is we would take 1 to 16 straight up. Nobody else included. If you can't get in the top 16, you don't make the playoff, period. We would still have an argument about 16, 15, 17, 18, yes. But if you can't get in the top 17, you shouldn't be there. Now, there's also an argument out there, which I don't dislike. Take the top 24. Also, similarly, I don't have an issue with it. Anything that gets us to a bigger field, I think is better for college football. Some of you are going to disagree. I think you are wrong, okay? Instead of being angry at the College Football Playoff Committee for the Alabama versus Notre Dame versus Miami decision, where no matter what the choice was, one of those three fan bases was going to be angry about being left out. Instead of being angry about the decision made there, if you want to be upset, it should be that Tulane and James Madison are both going to the college football playoff and have no business whatsoever being in the college football playoff. James Madison and Tulane being included in the college football playoff is college football's version of DEI. Didn't earn it. There is no reason whatsoever, when the goal is to be a meritocracy and award the teams that are the best, if you're going to tell me the whole purpose of the college football playoff is to award the best teams, look, there is a world where Notre Dame could win a national championship. There is a world where Vanderbilt could win a national championship. There is a world where BYU could win a national championship. There is a world where Texas could win a national championship, where Utah could win a national championship. There is no world in which James Madison or Tulane could win a national championship. They didn't earn it. This is DEI brought to college football. It should be kicked to the curb. The goal should be to reward the best teams, period. If Tulane and James Madison can get into the top 16 or they can get into the top 24, more power to them. They earned it. They're not two of the 12 best teams in college football. If you want to be angry, Notre Dame and BYU should be angry at Tulane and James Madison and the fact that we created a playoff system where both of those teams could steal bids. Now, also a function of the ACC's broken playoff positioning, that they could end up with an 8-5 team in Duke as their champion that doesn't even make the college football playoff. Miami should have been in as one of the two best teams in the ACC. The ACC should modify its playoff selection criteria as best they can. Miami playing against Virginia, the winner going in would have kept James Madison from going in. Then Miami either plays its way into the playoff or loses. Miami or Virginia is in, and you then end up with Notre Dame in as well, right? That's how the breakdown would have gone. So Notre Dame's furious at the ACC. Notre Dame fans are furious at everybody. I would say the anger should be directed at Tulane and James Madison over the fact that they are included because Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head. Alabama beat Georgia. Alabama beat Vanderbilt. Alabama beat a lot of good football teams over the course of the year. The Alabama win at Georgia is an excellent one. So, again, we have to modify the system so that the system is not rewarding borderline top 25 teams when only 12 teams should get in. That's just the reality. That's where we are. Okay. Let me tell you about Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. Great company, founded in the state of Georgia by my buddy Adam. They have built a multi-billion-dollar excellent company, and they make sports just a little bit more fun than they otherwise would be. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Holiday season, best time of year. You got all different sorts of football games going on, all different sorts of basketball games going on. All you have to do, if you want to play along, download the Prize Picks app. You can also go to prizepicks.com, use code OutKick, and you get $5. When you play $5, you get $50 deposited into your account. That's code OutKick for $50 in lineups in your account after you play $5. You can play in California. You can play in Georgia. You can play in Texas. You can play in roughly 40 states out there. 13 million people already playing. Why not join them? PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. Okay, what were the other results that we saw? And what was the significance outside of the playoff? To me, it was NIL has distributed talent more evenly than it did in a pre-NIL era. What do I mean by that? If I had told you 10 years ago, Duke's going to win the ACC, Texas Tech is going to win the Big 12, and Indiana is going to win the Big 10 in the same year in 2025, you would have called me crazy. If I had added the additional layer of and Vanderbilt is going to win 10 games for the first time in its history, you would have probably said, I'll give you infinity results there. Yet, that is exactly what we saw. I don't think there is any dispute any longer. NIL has expanded the playing field and made more teams better in college football. Whether it is Indiana, whether it's Texas Tech, whether it's Duke, whether it's Vanderbilt, we have never seen an era when teams can go from bad to conference champions, the likes of which we have just seen happen this year. And let me say this. Indiana's Kirk Cignetti, he has turned Indiana from basically a 3-9 team into a 13-0 team. This is up there, I believe, as one of the biggest jobs, most successful turnarounds in the history of sports. I'm not sure that we have ever seen anything like this. And I love the atmosphere. Indiana was basically the losingest team ever when Kirk Cignetti took over. And they lined up and they went toe-to-toe with Ohio State all game long. First time I've gone to a Big Ten title game. I had a great time there. Also went and watched Louisville play Indiana in the basketball arena right beforehand. Just a spectacular day of athletics. It's a good weekend. It was nice to be at the FIFA draw and then go and watch a great basketball game as well as an electric football game in a phenomenal environment. The only issue I would have had with the college football playoff committee, and it was very small, was I would have flipped to Georgia and Ohio State. I would have had Georgia 2, Ohio State 3. Very small issue. That's the only change I would make. A lot of people are reacting to Notre Dame refusing to play in the bowl game. This is certainly Notre Dame saying, we're going to take our ball and we're going to go home. And there are a lot of hot takes coming out about it. What I look at is, I believe Kansas State and Iowa State both said they're not going to play either. The bowl game era is going to, and in the midst of, already collapsing. In fact, if I told most college football fans right now, you can go play the bowl game, or you can save the money that you would spend on the bowl game and put it into getting better players, almost all of you would say, save the money, let's go get better players. And so I understand that people are ripping Notre Dame. We've had a bunch of takes on that. I actually don't blame Notre Dame because they're playing in a totally inconsequential game. And so this is, I think, what's going to happen more and more going forward. The goal is to make the college football playoff. If you don't make the college football playoff, you don't play another game. In the NFL, if you don't make the NFL playoffs, you don't decide to go out and actually do something different. Look, I'd go play another game. The goal is to make the playoff. I think, by the way, is that Mark Ingram? Do we have audio of Mark Ingram? I got to give Mark Ingram credit. Alabama's Heisman Trophy winning running back went on Big Noon halftime show and said, maybe the postgame show as well, but certainly at the halftime show, hey, Alabama's not playing well enough. Crimson Tide should not be in the playoff. I disagree with him because I think the precedent of conference title games is important. We'll play that in a second. Let me also say this, which I think is significant here. I think the bowl game infrastructure is collapsing outside of the playoff. I also think it's past time to do away with conference championship games. There is no point. If Alabama had missed the college football playoff, everybody would say, why would you ever want to play in the conference title game? Last year, Carson Beck was injured. Georgia became infinitely worse than they would have been if they hadn't played in the game at all. This is not a difficult proposition. The right number is either 16 or 24. Take the top teams, period, and roll it right into the playoff. Then go ahead and say, this is it. This is done. We're done with the totality, but start it earlier and don't play the conference title games. Here, by the way, I believe, is Mark Ingram for people to be able to listen here. Go along.
Bama, you played Georgia in the SEC championship. You lose by 21. I got too much Bama in me, but you're out. Now, Miami and Notre Dame should both get in my opinion. I think that is the decision the committee is going to have to make because when you have two bad losses in the championship game, you have to play one championship game.
I just spilled my Crockett coffee all over myself because I was trying to read text messages while I was also drinking. You should go, by the way, to crockettcoffee.com. Get your own copy of Balls. If you buy it between now and the end of the year, I will autograph it. crockettcoffee.com. Use code BOOK. Let me actually take a drink of Crockett coffee without spilling it all over myself. This is an American coffee company that I own alongside of Buck Sexton. So many of you have signed up. We thank you for that. Copy of the book autographed when you sign up to subscribe for Crockett Coffee just in time for the holidays. It's a great gift. Get hooked up there, and you will be glad that you did so. Props to Georgia. They dominated Alabama. This Alabama football team, people got mad at me for saying it. It's got a lot of flaws. Alabama won very close games. The final score doesn't reflect it, but the Vanderbilt game, arguably Vanderbilt could or should have won. Alabama could have easily lost to Missouri. They could have easily lost to Georgia. The final score doesn't reflect how close the game was against Tennessee if you go back and look at total yardage and interception return touchdowns and everything else. This was and is, I believe, an 8-4, 9-3 style Alabama football team. Georgia has accelerated their performance since September and is now playing at a phenomenal level. And they lost in Athens earlier this year. I was there when Alabama won. Georgia kicked the crap out of Alabama, held them to -3 yards rushing, blew up the offensive line for Alabama such that Ty Simpson was running for his life for most of the game. If anything, the 28-7 score was not reflective of how much Georgia dominated. And I know this one meant a lot to Kirby Smart because Alabama has tended to win the Alabama-Georgia matchups. This felt like a significant change in that it felt to me like two ships passing in the night. I think Alabama is a good, not great program right now under Kalen DeBoer. I think they'll be 8-4, 9-3 caliber team again next year. The rest of the SEC has caught up with Alabama. I think Nick Saban saw this coming. It's one reason why he decided to step back from coaching, because he saw that NIL was going to provide challenges for Alabama going forward that hadn't existed in the past. And I think that is why the decision was made to move in the direction that they did, meaning Saban decided to step down. Okay, a couple of other stories. Let's leave behind college football for a moment. I watched NFL all day yesterday, as many of you did. There's been a lot of discussion about Shedeur Sanders. There's been a great deal of discussion about how good he is, how bad he is, whether or not he can play at an NFL level. He went for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans yesterday. Third career start. Now, I understand people out there are going to say, well, it was against the Titans. They're awful, Clay. It's correct. Titans are an awful team. Nobody had scored that many points, by and large, against the Tennessee Titan defense very often this year. The defense has actually been one of the strengths of the Titans, to the extent they have a strength at all. The defense has been better than the awful, awful offense. Here is the truth, and I don't know how many people are going to say this. I have no idea if Shedeur Sanders will ever be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't think we have any idea whether Cam Ward will be a good quarterback in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders yesterday was better in his third start than Cam Ward has been in any of his 13 starts so far this season. Now, you can make excuses. You can say the Browns actually have better offensive weapons than the Titans. You can say the Browns have a better coaching staff than the Titans. You can say that Shedeur's getting to practice in a way where he didn't have to play the first several weeks, and maybe his self-confidence has improved as a result because they started with Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and now later in the season, Shedeur has been able to learn on the sideline. Here's the reality. Based on what I saw yesterday for 60 minutes, Shedeur Sanders is better right now at playing quarterback than Cam Ward is. That doesn't mean it's going to extend into the future and be the case. That doesn't mean that Cam Ward is going to be a failure. It doesn't mean that Shedeur Sanders is going to be a success. They could both be successes. They could both be failures at terms of playing quarterback at the NFL level. Shedeur Sanders yesterday was better than Cam Ward has been in any game this year. That's what I saw on the field. Again, you can talk about the Titans' lack of offensive weapons. Oh, by the way, the reason the Titans won this game was because the Browns couldn't stop the Titans from running the football. Wasn't because of anything Cam did. Shedeur, right now, looks like a better quarterback prospect than Cam Ward does. Cam Ward has not gotten better throughout the course of this season. The game has not slowed down. I thought that Shedeur Sanders looked more comfortable and better running the Browns' offense this week than Cam Ward has looked any week with the Titans. Again, early in their careers, Cam Ward's ceiling may still be way higher. Shedeur Sanders may have already reached his ceiling. He may have no success going forward. But right now, Shedeur week 3 as a starter with the Browns was better than Cam Ward has been in any week starting for the Tennessee Titans. And I say that as a longtime Tennessee Titans season ticket holder. Okay, last night, NFL action ended with the Chiefs losing to the Texans. The Chiefs are now 6-7. They are not going to make the playoff. I don't know that we can pronounce the Chief dynasty dead and buried, but we can say this is a time where the Chiefs have to go back and remake themselves with better, younger talent. I don't know that we have reached the point in his career where Patrick Mahomes is going to have to go reinvent himself and build a new talent around him. But remember, Tom Brady had a long period of fallow in success, lack of success. He won a bunch of Super Bowls, and then it was like a decade until he won another couple, and then he went on and won the 7th down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Patrick Mahomes had been ahead of the career trajectory of Tom Brady. This is a record scratch moment for Mahomes to not make the playoff. And people can say, well, look at what happened with Travis Kelce. There's even people out there saying that Taylor Swift is the Yoko Ono of the Kansas City Chiefs. Unfortunate part of that is the Chiefs won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in Las Vegas. Travis Kelce definitely played earlier in the season like he still had some juice left in the tank. Doesn't look like it as much now. And also, the drops that Patrick Mahomes is having from his receivers down the field are substantial. But the Chiefs have issues on the offensive line. Defense isn't getting it done on the same level that they have been in the past, and Patrick Mahomes hasn't been able to rescue the Chiefs late. The Chiefs, I really believe this, are not going to make the playoffs. Now, some people are looking at the schedule. They're saying, they'll win the last 4. It's not particularly tough, Clay. You're wrong. Problem there is you run into some tie-break situations. And a lot of these tie-breaks, if teams continue to win, are going to work out against the Chiefs based on how we have seen things break out so far. Okay. I wanted to hit this because I do believe that it is a huge story. Right now, there is a battle over who's going to apply to buy Warner Brothers. I love media. I don't know how many of you guys even care that much about this story, but there is an $82.7 billion bid from Netflix to buy the HBO and streaming assets of Warner Brothers. There is $108.4 billion offer that is out there right now from Paramount to buy all of Warner Brothers. They are now trying to put together a hostile takeover bid that they are taking directly to the shareholders because the board of Warner Brothers agreed to sell to Netflix. Say, okay, Clay, why should I care? I think the Paramount purchase is the better deal. Why? If you care about media diversity of opinion, CNN under the Netflix purchase would stay in the control of the existing Warner Brothers apparatus in a new company being spun out. CNN is broken. It's unfair. It is a legacy news network that needs to be reformed. And if this purchase by Netflix goes into effect, that's not going to happen. Secondarily, Netflix is a far left-wing media company. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy a lot of their products. Stranger Things, loved it, just watched it. I am a shareholder of Netflix. I am a shareholder of Paramount. I am a shareholder of basically every major media company out there. So I don't have any financial interest. Nobody has even reached out to me to tell me anything about this. And again, I own shares of stock in all these companies. So to the extent that I was going to be involved in having an opinion, I'm not going to be impacted that much personally. I'm not employed by any of these companies. I think Paramount's the better choice. Netflix buying Warner Brothers creates too much streaming power inside of Netflix. It creates another far left-wing media company, and it continues to create far left-wing programming at CNN. I'm not saying that Paramount's going to be perfect. They're clearly going to have all sorts of flaws themselves, but I think the best result here, to the extent that Warner Brothers is going to be purchased, is if Paramount buys the entire company and if they try to bring CNN back to some form of centrism. That is, to me, the best result for those of us who care about news, for those of us who care about current events, for those of us who care about the larger media ecosystem that exists in this country. So that is my take. I'm going to continue to cover it. We'll continue to break it all down for you. Love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Go to crockettcoffee.com. When you subscribe, if you use code BOOK, you will get an autographed copy of my book. You can give this away to somebody as a present, and you'll get the delectable Crockett coffee in the meantime. I'll be back with you guys in about an hour to do a Will Kane hit. Tomorrow, lots more shows coming your way. Again, the College Football Playoff Committee, they got it right. I might be the only guy advocating and arguing for that. And I will see all of you tomorrow. As always, DBAP unless you need to SBAP. And this has been OutKick, the show.